And hello everyone, and welcome to the 2024 election debates live from the ASU TV studio here on ASU TV. I'm Jonathan Reeves. At this hour, the candidates for the city of Jonesboro's mayoral race will debate. Candidates here tonight are L.J. Bryant, Jeremy Terrell, Thomas Elwood, and the incumbent mayor, Harold Copenhaver. Questions will be asked by a panel of journalists from local and state news organizations. Tonight's debate on ASU TV is made possible through a partnership with KASU Public Radio on the campus of Arkansas State University, KLEK Radio in Jonesboro, the Herald newspaper, Delta Digital News Service, and Red Wolf Radio, all on the campus of Arkansas State University. Now, prior to the debate tonight, the candidates agreed to the rules of the debate, which are the following. Each candidate will be given a 2-minute opening statement. After the panelists' first question, each candidate will then have 2 minutes to respond in rebuttal. The initial candidate will have 1 minute for a final retort. Panelists will then ask a second question to all candidates in a 4-minute open forum style. All panelists will ask questions to candidates in the order in which they were drawn. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for a closing statement. Now, the order of the candidates' questions tonight was determined through a random draw that was held on September 26th. Candidates, thank you for being here tonight. The order in which the opening statements will be delivered was determined backstage. And here with tonight's first opening statement is Mr. L.J. Bryant.
Thanks, Jonathan. Monday night, I outlined a clear need for change in the KIT debate. If you haven't watched the KIT debate, go back and watch it. Hate to beat a dead horse. I want to talk about new things today. This is a very serious election. Too often in politics, it can become a beauty pageant, it can become a personality contest, it can turn into a student council race. This is not that. I've been on the city council 7 years, and I've been very concerned about the direction that we're going with city government. And I feel like I've done all I can do sitting in the city council chair, so I feel like I have to move to the mayor's chair to make the meaningful change that I want to make. My wife and I were born in Jonesboro. My baby was born in Jonesboro. We were raised outside Jonesboro. When we got married, we chose to live in Jonesboro. She's built her business in Jonesboro. I built our tax business in Jonesboro. We started with 2 offices. We built up to 42 offices and we sold them. Jonesboro's been very good to me and my family. And I feel compelled to run. At 37, I still feel like I'm relatively young. Some people say I look 15, so I don't know. But nonetheless, when I think about my little baby at 11 months old, I think about what kind of future will she have? And I want her to be here with us. I want our family to stay together. And I know the things that we have to do now as it relates to quality of life and as it relates to crime, as it relates to mosquito reduction, those are decisions that have to be made now. I hate to think about my little baby turning 18 someday, but I know it'll be here before I know it. So I want her to stay in this community with us. From announcing on July 24th, we've had hundreds of people contribute to our campaign. Majority of the donors have given less than $200. We've knocked on about 9,000 doors since early September. So this campaign can't be about money. It's got to be about people. That's what we've been doing, is going out and seeing people. And when I talk to folks door to door, the things I hear from them, from their lips, not from a poll, from their lips, they're concerned about crime. They're concerned about how we treat city employees like Rachel Anderson, and they're concerned about their future and the future of our city.
Mr. Bryant, thank you very much. Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you to those that are moderating and to ASU for putting on this great debate. And most of all, thank you to the citizens of Jonesboro that are tuning in to watch this debate. This is an important debate, and this is a debate about who is best to lead us into the next 4 years, and if they do a good job, the next 8. We have a problem here in Jonesboro. Too many times we have neglected the basic needs of Jonesboro. We've done things like roads to nowhere, overburdened building codes, lack of transparency, and the most important is our safety. We have 2 opponents up here that have been in the government now for almost 4 and 7 years, and now all of a sudden they want to talk real loud about safety. I've been talking about safety now for most of my adult life, and I believe it is the #1 and the most important thing. If we do not have safety, it doesn't matter what we build. It doesn't matter how many 7-foot sidewalks we put in or bike trails we put in unsafe neighborhoods. You know, they have allowed they were allowed to spend your money frivolously. They put in roads to nowhere. And it's about time we bring accountability back to Jonesboro. And it's about time we bring a sense of competency back to Jonesboro. And as your mayor, I will make sure that I surround myself with highly competent people, and we will raise the level and expectations of Jonesboro, and we will no longer settle for mediocre. The time is now, and I'm here to talk about the real issues, and I am the one that I believe has the real solutions, not just talking points.
Mr. Terrell, thank you very much. Mr. Elwood, you have 2 minutes.
Well, good evening. It's great to be back on campus. I still live in Jonesboro, but I don't get a chance to drive around. They still need to do some better stuff on the trees out here, but that's a whole nother story. But my name is Thomas Elwood. A lot of people know me as Tom Elwood. And what you really want to know is who am I and why am I here? Well, when I was 7 years old, we had a family tragedy. My little brother, Dean, passed away from cancer at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This was 1967. I still remember the parking lot was gravel, and it was the first time I'd ever seen chain link fences. Well, when the news came back all the way to home, I think I was at the neighbor's house, and then I walked home, but I was all by myself in the house. And I prayed to the Lord. I said, if you're real, and I asked him, if you're real, that I need you, and I need you now. And he answered my prayer. But the reason I tell you that story is because I can tell you this. The citizens of Jonesboro were incredible to my family. They nursed my dad back to health. They nursed my mom back to health. They made us feel normal again. So Jonesboro is my home, and it'll always be my home. And the thing about ASU, the girls from the Chi Omega sorority, they threw us a Christmas party because we didn't have a Christmas for 2 years because he was diagnosed in 1966. And I will never forget that symbol that they have on their sorority thing, the coat and everything. So ASU, like I said, is my home, and it means something to me. So that's about all I got to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Elwood. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, and I'm blessed to be back on ASU's campus. I haven't gone far. My name is Mayor Harold Copenhaver, and I'm here to talk tonight about many accomplishments and successes that we have. Also, it's important that we continue the momentum in the city that is currently ongoing, but more importantly, we're showing to you tonight the stability, and what I'm about is dedication to this community. We have addressed and are continuing to address safety and crime, quality of life initiatives, provided raises for all of our employees across the board, as well as quality of life initiatives. I began a Mayor's Youth Council for the first time in the history of city government, and also created a Mayor's Caucus in Northeast Arkansas. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My wife and I have been married 42 years. We attended Jonesboro High and Arkansas State University. We have 3 children. They've all gone to Jonesboro Public Schools and attended Arkansas State and graduated there. I've been very blessed to have 5 grandchildren as well. God provided me a path in agriculture starting out at a very young age, and then 40 years in the insurance industry, and then provided me the opportunity to serve in the banking field later in life. I was also blessed to serve in the Arkansas State Legislature, as well as serve on many local organizations and boards. You know, I ran 8 years ago, and we kept everything up here. There were 7 people. We didn't get down in the dirt. We talked about who we were and what we were going to do. We did the same thing 4 years ago as well. And one of those individuals is working with me now on a master park plan and helping us on the trail system. It's about integrity, honesty, and that's who I am. I won't be bought and sold by one individual or a group of people. I'm here for the entire community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Copenhaver. We appreciate that. Thank you for the opening statements, gentlemen. When we come back, our panel will start their questions for the candidates. This is Election 2024, live from Arkansas State University, here on ASU TV.
Here at Lost Pizza, we like to stay classy. But in the kitchen, we take care of business.
Thank you so much.
get lost.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
And welcome back to ASU TV for tonight's political debate as part of Election Coverage 2024. Our first panelist tonight is Leganzi Kale. Mr. Kale is the founder and general manager of KLEK 102.5 FM, Jonesboro's first and only black-owned radio station. With extensive experience as a broadcaster, Leganzi is recognized at local, state, and national levels for his dedication to community service. He's passionate about empowering the citizens of Jonesboro through education and entertainment, fostering awareness of current affairs and events. His mission is to build bridges and build communities, ensuring lasting positive change. Mr. Kale, thank you for being here tonight. Your first question goes to Mr. L.J. Bryant.
Local small nonprofits play a crucial role in addressing community needs. What specific actions will you take to support these organizations, either through funding, partnerships, or other resources to help them thrive and to continue to serve Jonesboro?
Mr. Bryant, you have 2 minutes.
Sure, good question. So the city can't do everything, the city can't fix everything. So it's very vital that we have nonprofits. And we need people closest to the things that they're engaged in. And it's amazing the things that people can do in the ways that they can engage others in many ways that the government can't. And so the city has some ability through CDBG to partner with others, and the council, and I voted for it. We voted to provide some humanitarian aid the other night, $500,000. I do have concerns, though, in the long term about that those monies are one-time monies. And so I hope that we can help those organizations become self-sufficient. And it's sort of been the attitude of the Advertising and Promotion Commission when they make grant awards, is to try to help those folks become self-sufficient. And I feel very confident, particularly in Jeremy Biggs, which was a great hire by the mayor in the Community and Grants Development Department, to try to equip those folks with tools. And previously, when Tiffany Calloway had that role, she really worked hard early on to kind of do a neighborhood leadership program that sort of fell off somewhere in there. I'd like to see us bring that back, because we really got to have neighborhoods to help us address all the issues. We got 9 folks in code enforcement. They can't fix every issue. So we really need folks in communities to be engaged. We need nonprofits to be engaged. And they are the folks that can come back to us with the ideas. And unfortunately, there's not a limited, there is a limited amount of money, so we can't always provide the money to everybody. But sometimes we can provide the avenues to connect them with the right people. So I do think city government can be a connector, even if it's not always a funder.
Mr. Bryant, thank you very much. Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Yeah, so I believe that these are better equipped to help the city a lot of times than the city. Too many times the city gets distracted by other things, and these nonprofits are out there with the heart and with the willingness to do what's best for the city. And I think that that we need to get out of their way. So do they need more support? 100% they need more support. And people like yourself and what you guys do, you need support. You're spreading a great and wonderful message out there. You're doing great and wonderful things, and without you, we'd have a big hole in our community. Rennell Woods, a good friend of mine, same thing. That guy, if we ever are able to fill his shoes, it'll be a miracle. But he did an amazing amount of things for our kids and our youth within Jonesboro, and we lost an incredible human being. And at some point in time, we've got to realize that we did not allow these people that are doing these things. There's a group out there trying to help the homeless as well, and we've actually been in their way. We're not giving them the resources that they need, and we're not working with them properly in order to make sure that they are successful. And I've talked to quite a few of these. So I believe that they're way more equipped than we are. The government seems to, currently right now, the government seems to be consumed by sidewalks and downtown, and we're beginning to lose our way about the direction of Jonesboro, and we're leaving a lot out, and including our kids and other things, and we got to use the resources that we have to help those that are doing the job that we can't do.
Mr. Terrell, thank you very much. Mr. Elwood, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I know this isn't a local, but I started out talking about the story of my family's association with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is not government controlled or funded. So it's all like come in here and say, I'm from the city and I'm here to help. Well, that causes mistrust. And I talk about trust an awful lot, but the people have to trust the process. So when the government, whether it be the city, federal, whatever, gets too involved in the process, then other players and characters and actors say, hey, that's getting popular, I want to be part of that. Well, if they're going to be part of it, that's great. But if they're wanting to be part of it for other reasons, then that's not good. Now here in Jonesboro, we had the St. Jude for the Super Bowl every year. A group of citizens got together and they put together the Super Bowl party. Well, we had a police chief, Chief Yates, when he came in there, he was worried about the alcohol. So everybody had to set him straight that we're not going to worry about the alcohol because it's going to be controlled and it's going to be done in a respectable manner. But we are here to watch the Super Bowl and to raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We're not here to promote anybody for politics. Anybody wants to run for office. You couldn't run around with shirts like I got on. You came there for a reason. And as long as we keep the purity of nonprofits, because they are vital. That's where ideals come from. That's where passion comes from. That's where ideals come from. And there's nothing better than a nonprofit. But when you start saying, well, you got to follow this rule, you got to follow this rule, and this guideline, right? Well, you got too many cars parked in the parking lot. I mean, there's all kinds of pitfalls that's involved in it. So it's good for the mayor and the mayor's office to be aware of these nonprofits, but it's not our office to promote or to hinder their operations.
Mr. Elwood, thank you very much. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, and a great question, Leganzi, because this is very close to my heart. It's about community involvement. And that's what I take pride in, is getting myself engaged, and I've done that for over 40 years with volunteer efforts. But more importantly, from the mayor's position, nonprofits are very critical to our community because they provide services that many in this community don't even know that they offer. So Project Search, for take one in point, dealt with St. Bernard's. These are individuals that have some disabilities, but they can provide opportunity for them in the community. We gathered together, and I provided the opportunity for nonprofits to come together that were in the healthcare field to provide to individuals with some form of disabilities. That group now is called Project Care, and it's a nonprofit, and it's set the tone for this community. We now have 50 nonprofits working together as one voice, providing opportunity for others in this community. Now, I mentioned earlier, the city. We do have CDBG funding, but it's very restrictive. And when I took mayor, we only had 2 nonprofits applying for that because of HUD regulations and guidelines. And so it's taken us a while. We want to make sure, as mentioned earlier, we don't want to provide all the resources for nonprofits, but we need to show them what we can do and provide them the ability to. So we have created, and City Council passed Tuesday night, a humanitarian fund that is $500,000 that will be available to nonprofits in this community. And my goal is to hopefully every year to be able to fill that pot again for the continuation of this, because my concern is that we don't want that money to run out after one time. Nonprofits in our community, like the United Way and others, there's too many to mention, are the crux and the heartbeat of Jonesboro, Arkansas.
And Mr. Copenhaver, thank you. Mr. Bryant, you have 1 minute to respond back.
Sure, and I think Mr. Terrell hit this. We got to be careful that we don't try to replace United Way. United Way is in a much better position to choose quote-unquote winners and losers amongst nonprofits. And I suppose if the mayor would let me know who's buying me this one person, they sound quite wealthy, and maybe they could help with the nonprofit. So we'll try to ask him about that later.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Kale, this next question will go to all the candidates for a 4-minute open forum.
Excuse me. As Jonesboro continues to grow, how will you balance economic development with maintaining the quality of life for all residents? In this discussion, share your ideas on managing growth while preserving community character, green spaces, and public services.
Well, if I may, I'm going to start. I think I had a forum the other day, and there were young high school students, and these are leaders in the community that want to progress to Arkansas State University, and I asked them about quality of life initiatives and what was key to them. Well, you know what it was? It was city water and light. What's a fundamental basis of how can I provide for my family in this community? I thought that was very interesting because they were after the wants and not the needs. I mean, the needs and not the wants. It was quite opposite of what I anticipated. We as a city have to continue to provide the opportunity and the growth, and we have to do through education, and Arkansas State University is the key source in that. So the continued partnership with the university to educate our youth and provide them the opportunity here and knowledge, whether it's 2 years, whether it's VOTEC schools, this is a goal of what we need to continue and really step our game up in Jonesboro.
I really believe that this is where I believe both LJ and Copenhaver are missing the boat on this. You know, they continue to vote and put in sidewalks, 7-foot sidewalks. They said it was going to go over to this direction. Come to find out, it didn't. It went to downtown. We put in a bike path and a new road that you and I would not have been able to do it because it didn't meet any regulations and didn't get the same scrutiny that if you and I were going to do it. They just started building. And they put a road down Creth, which I talked to the people on Creth, knocked on every door. They said, definitely is the wrong road for multiple reasons. But they're missing the boat. They talk about kids. We have not done one thing for our kids, and I don't know how many years. You know, LJ's talked a little bit about ASU. We keep 33% of ASU students that graduate here.
Is this
but
part
we're
of
losing, we're absolutely,
when can I talk?
we're absolutely losing our kids that grew up here. And that's because we don't do anything for our kids. Our kids are left out
This doesn't hardly seem
of the
fair
time.
to me, this format. How can two people talk continuously and me and LJ don't get to say anything? Because that timer is running and it's at 1 minute and 42 seconds. Well, you talked about green spaces. I'm talking about trees and the urban forest. And they talk about the road to nowhere. Well, that road to nowhere would be perfect for my composting facility ideal. That's leaves. The city has a hard time picking up the leaves because it costs money. But they have a road to nowhere, which is blacktop, 4-lane, there's a light, so that you can safely turn off the highway. And the citizens of Jonesboro can take their yard waste and their leaves, and we can begin to compost them. We currently burn leaves in the incinerator. Now I'm talking at a university, so there should be some interest in the natural process. Leaves are fundamentally, they break down, they're compost, they're like liquid gold to anything that's alive. So if we start a composting facility, which makes it easier on the individual citizens, you can grow trees. Trees grow from acorns. Just take an acorn. You can use the youth council to gather the acorns if you want to. You don't need to raise 10,000 trees. Well, let's raise 100 trees. Let's raise 1,000 trees.
Hey, Tom, I'm going to jump in
Yeah,
if I can.
I agree. I understand.
Okay, so I'll be real brief. At the debate on Monday night, the mayor attacked me for wanting to make it easier for people to develop and do business in Jonesboro. He's increased the head count in city government by 13%. His idea of economic development is growing city government, and my idea of economic development is helping private businesses. I mean, we need a fair and transparent process for economic development for people to build in this community.
Thank you, gentlemen. And Mr. Elwood, on your concern that you had, we will make the open forum for the rest of the debate where each person gets 1 minute to be able to respond. And that will be a total of 4 minutes for that.
Well, good.
So,
I just don't want to step on anybody and break in. I'm sorry, LJ, if I went too long. But we need fairness in everything we do.
yes, sir. Thank you very much. We will take a quick break and we'll continue with the debate for the City of Jonesboro mayoral race. This is Election 2024 coverage live from Arkansas State University here on ASU TV.
Good point.
For over 25 years, Papa Cella's Pizza Chef has been serving up flavors that keep you coming back for more. With 19 gourmet pizzas, 6 fresh salads, 10 mouth-watering subs, and our famous handmade calzone.
All right, Mr. Burton, this will be yours.
And we're growing our team. Papa Cella's Pizza Chef. Over 25 years of great food, great people, and now, great opportunities for you.
This is going to go to...
Students should
Terrell,
watch
this will be
ASU
going to you
TV
first.
just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
And welcome back to this political debate on ASU TV as part of election coverage 2024. Our next panelist is Mr. Jerry Don Burton. He's an aspiring multimedia journalist currently in his junior year at Arkansas State University. Jerry's committed to a career in journalism as it offers him the opportunity to continuously learn and share insights through his writing, aligning perfectly with his personal and professional aspirations. Mr. Burton, thank you for being here tonight. And your first question will go to Mr. Terrell.
Thank you. Mr. Terrell, how do you plan to foster greater engagement between A-State students and the broader Jonesboro community, and what specific initiatives will you implement to encourage student involvement in local civic, cultural, and economic activities?
Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes.
So I was actually looking into this today and talking with a group of people from Memphis. And what Memphis has done is they have went out to their different universities, and kind of like the mayor has done with the youth committee, they've actually done this with their campuses, and they also done it with the city. And I believe 100% that if we get some of the ASU campus involved and talking about their needs and their wants and their desires on a regular basis and form a committee, we can definitely move in the right direction of meeting the needs of the students here. I think that for too long we've kind of been one, the city and the school, and at some point in time we've got to come together and we've got to meet the expectations. We do 33%, and I do believe that the majority of ASU students aren't from Jonesboro, and we're keeping 33%. So we are doing something right, but we could do better. And we need the interaction between you guys. You guys are the next generation, and at some point in time, we've got to make sure that we're engaging you so that when we're gone, you guys will be able to take over. And as far as just the development, again, I can't stress this enough. We are not developing. I don't know if it's my opponents or the people backing my opponents. I'm not 100% sure, but they believe that if we build bikes or bike paths, that the crime will go away, and if we build roads that connect to downtown. With all due respect, I don't want 18, 19, 20-year-olds going downtown and drinking. But do we need to create other avenues for ASU students? Absolutely. If you're of age and you want to get downtown and drink legally, that's 100% okay with me. But we have to do and meet our kids at where they're at today, and we're missing that point.
All right, Mr. Terrell, thank you very much. Mr. Elwood, you have 2 minutes.
Sure. I hate to interfere with the natural process of learning. If we have a structured environment where you come to me for 50 or learn. Now, the one thing that we have in common as an ASU student, because I used to be an ASU student, the thing we have in common is mosquitoes. I mean, if we create a natural mosquito control program, which I am capable of doing because I understand the natural world and the process. We have all these detention ponds for flood control, which I was part of the designing it, but they didn't take all my ideas with it. Each pond needs a purple martin house. Now, I don't know how many of y'all have been to Joe Mack Campbell Park. There's a very healthy bird population out there. They're called purple martins. They like to be around people, and they like to have a little bit of water that they can, but we could develop birdhouses on the campus all the way around the city. If you're interested in natural control of things, I will be doing natural control and that's part of quality of life, and that's part of the urban forest, which is very important. Well, the trees don't start at the ASU campus. They go on and on and on. So I would get involved in my composting program, is to get involved with the mayor's youth council and get them involved, because there's different kind of acorns. Different kind of acorns produce different kind of trees. So I would share my knowledge openly. Anybody that wants to help beautify the natural environment, and that could be high school kids, college kids, anybody that has similar interest in it. But I am firmly against having a program that is rigid and unnatural. So I think, yes, it is important that we share our knowledge with the next generation, but we should share our knowledge out of a purity of heart. We shouldn't share their knowledge just to be, hey, look at me.
All right, Mr. Elwood, thank you. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 2 minutes.
Sure, and that's a great question, and being an alumnus of Arkansas State University, I continue to engage. I'm out here all the time. I was part of a fraternity, my wife and I. Growing up, I was in the SGA, and I've continued to do that. And my conversations with the students on campus is, Mayor, what can you do to help us engage more with the city? Well, number one is we need to provide transportation. We have over so many nationalities that are on campus. Guess what? On the weekends, they don't have the possibility for transportation. Number one, we need to take them on our new bus routes that we're going to be incorporating. We're having brand new transportation trolleys. The first one will be in next week. And the students are really excited about this. But more importantly, we need to do internships. And we've already engaged that process with the city government. We have 23 different departments, engineering, planning, and the students are excited about that. We have to make our pathway safe. And so the investment and grant funding that's available, we talk about pathways to nowhere. Well, I disagree with that. This is an investment in the safety in our community. We're going to light it up. Arkansas State University all the way down to Main Street, all the way up to Parker Park. This allows our students and residents to be more engaged in a safe program, especially on the weekends. 20% of students walk everywhere they go. So we also have to engage our Hispanic, El Centro, in our community as well, because many students attend Arkansas State University. I'm very proud of what we're doing, but it's all about communication, and I can assure you that that is on the forefront of this leadership.
Mr. Copenhaver, thank you. Mr. Bryant, you have 2 minutes.
So I'll say, even I think I'm still relatively young, it's amazing the disconnect between somebody in their late 30s and somebody in their early 20s. I mean, in this campaign, I've discovered I don't even know how to do an Instagram reel properly. I've discovered I don't know how to write a caption properly. I did discover, though, how to use ChatGPT to write a caption. And so I think it's incredibly difficult for people in politics and government, regardless of their age. It just doesn't take long to be incredibly disconnected from young people. So, of course, having the conversations of being present, but it takes really digging deep, a layer deeper than that. I mean, A-State's done an incredible job getting kids on campus. Like, it's amazing. And then it's really up to us on the city side to build an environment for them to get engaged. And I feel like it really doesn't matter if it's somebody visiting church for the first time or somebody who's a new employee or somebody who's an A-State student. I mean, any sort of activity like that where you have somebody new, if you don't quickly engage them, in this instance in the community, then all of a sudden they quickly become disconnected. And I think it's a challenge that every city faces. And you see that brain drain everywhere, and there's multiple components to it. I mean, there's of course the bike trail component, which I believe in. And you've seen Conway fund their master trail system. You've seen Russellville fund their master trail system, and we have to do that to be competitive. And that's vitally important, and it's important that we do our part, because while A-State had a tremendous enrollment, UCA managed to even have a more tremendous record enrollment that they'd had in 25 years, and I think that also reflects on the success of Conway. And Conway really set out early on and said, hey, here's the things we're going to do in this community. And it involved roundabouts, and it involved redoing the streetscaping, all of those things. So we have to have a super concrete plan and build a city for the next generation. Typically in politics, what happens, you'll have voters who are typically in their mid-50s, but the people that live in this town are in their mid-30s. And so politicians naturally are going to spend more time with voters and more time catering to voters, and those voters' needs, they've already chosen to live here and raise their family here, and inevitably and almost unintentionally will ignore the needs of the people in their early 30s.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. We appreciate that. Mr. Terrell, you have 1 minute to respond.
So I've got 10 kids between my wife and I. We have several that have gone through college or that currently are in college or they're about to be in college. And we're talking about engaging you guys. The problem is that we keep talking about it. You know, 4 years ago we talked about engaging you guys. 7 years ago we talked about engaging. At some point in time we've got to elect somebody that's going to really engage. Somebody that's got a heart and a desire to make sure that we're not just full of talking points, that we actually engage with you guys. We sit up here and we talk about who's the right guy for the job. The problem is again, we've got two that have been there for 4 and 7 years. What have they done? You know, they talk about this stuff. We've gotten a road to Creth, but you know, if we're going to build a road down Creth, we better light it up ASAP. Not already start pushing kids to come down a road that's unsafe.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Thank you very much. And so now what we'll do is we'll go to our 4-minute open forum. Just a reminder, candidates, each candidate gets 1 minute to be able to respond to this next question. Mr. Burton, you may ask your next question, please.
Okay, for my follow-up, the Herald reached out to the A-State student body to send in their questions for the debate. Rocco Hicks from Prattsville, Arkansas asks, how will you convince students to stay in Jonesboro long-term?
Well, I'll answer that right away because I know Rocco. He's a rising star at our Arkansas State University campus. He's a president of a fraternity here in campus. And Rocco's commitment is to education, number one, but he also has engaged himself in the city. And he came to me, and he and I met, and we talked about the issues. So he's doing an internship in my office, as a matter of fact. And it's very important that students also feel that they have an open door with the city government as well. There's opportunity here, but Rocco and I are working on ideas and how to address the students here. And what we're doing is having an open forum Sunday night at 7:30 by the Pi Kappa Alpha House, and all fraternities and all individuals on this campus, nationalities, are more than welcome to discuss these issues.
Well, I think we're asking the wrong question. There's a big world out there, and you come to the university to learn and to get into how to do things and everything. You need a starting job, which is great. If Jonesboro can provide an opening job for your first job experience, that's great. But I would not bend anybody's arms or encourage anybody to stay in Arkansas or stay in Jonesboro or even the state of Arkansas if it's not in their best interest. Because there's a big world out there. There's all kinds of things. Now go out there and change the world and then bring back some of that change to Jonesboro. We need change. We need new minds, but we don't need to restrict opportunities that young people have. And if you're sitting around thinking somebody's restricting you, then you lose trust. You lose trust in your local government. Why do they want me to stay here when I can go there? So I think that's the wrong question to ask.
Go ahead, LJ.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll be real quick. So I'd say kind of two things on that. Something that's changed a lot is the cities around us are starting to have some success, and a rising tide lifts all boats. Walnut Ridge just had an announcement of 200 jobs in their downtown. Newport's building some new houses. Mark Tree, Tyronza, the steel industry, obviously in Mississippi County. So we're going to have to be a lot more competitive to stand out. Before we kind of won, I hate to say it, but by almost default. And then the other thing I'll say is Talk Business wrote about this recently. The Compass report gave Jonesboro a C- because of our lack of job growth, because of difficulty with sales tax collection, because of difficulty in rising unemployment. So we have to make sure the economy is what we need it to be here for our kids.
Yeah, so currently right now we've got schools, we've got the mayor's office, we've got the city council, we've got factories, we've got all these conglomerates, and they're not talking to each other. And they start talking to each other about the time that we start running for mayor again. And there are some things going on, but the truth of the matter is that this has to go on for 4 years. This has to go on every year. This has to go on continuously, and we have to reach out to every company. We got to reach out to every different school. We have to make sure that there is a plan that is in place to make sure that we are reaching you guys and that you're reaching the companies. Just off the top of my head, you know, we got all of these different groups that are spending the money of Jonesboro and the citizens of Jonesboro. I can't think of a better organization than to connect ASU with different businesses within Jonesboro, and come to, you know, all the different aspects of your majors, and connect you with those outlets that
Mr. Terrell,
that
thank
you're
you very
currently
much.
working for.
You have reached 1 minute. Thank you very much for that. We'll take a quick break and continue with the debate for the City of Jonesboro mayoral race. This is election 2024 coverage live from Arkansas State University here on ASU TV.
Wings to Go has the flavors. Did I mention Wings to Go has the flavors? Dry rub, tasty sauces. We shake them, we toss them. Get Wings to Go.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Welcome back to ASU TV for this political debate as part of election 2024 coverage. Our next panelist tonight is Mr. Brandon Tabor. Mr. Tabor is the news director and morning edition host at KASU Public Radio at Arkansas State University, where he plays a crucial role in delivering timely and relevant news. In addition to providing essential information and music to listeners, he's dedicated to nurturing the next generation of media professionals, offering them valuable career opportunities in communications. Mr. Tabor, thank you so much for being here tonight. And your question first will go to Mr. Elwood.
Okay. All right, so as you know, in 2020, Jonesboro was hit with two disasters, one of which was globally the COVID pandemic, and then also we were hit with a tornado. And then after that, many other communities around Northeast Arkansas were also hit by tornadoes as well, and been dealing with different natural disasters. So what will your plan be like if Jonesboro was hit with a natural disaster?
Well, you left out the earthquake too, because that could happen too. Well, we have, the state of Arkansas has some emergency plans for a disaster area. Now, I grew up in 1973 when the tornado came through here originally. There was no FEMA, there was nothing, but there was nothing to eat either because the electricity was off everywhere. The Red Cross came in with their food carts and fed all the workers and kind of kept everything going. So we learned a lot in that disaster and tornado. But I go back to trust. That's another reason we have to develop the trust between the citizens and the government that they care for you, and that if we all take care of each other, we've got a good chance to ride out these storms. But we have to have patience. See, if you have no confidence in your government, then you have no patience. When you have no patience and you're under stress, you make bad decisions. So that's why it's important, it's vital, that you always maintain the trust, and you have to do trust every day. Because once you lose trust, you can't hardly get it back. But the only way you can survive a natural disaster is if you come to the aid of your neighbor and your neighbor comes to the aid of you. But he won't do that if there's mistrust, if there's, like say, a code enforcement problem between you and your neighbor. Well, when you have a storm, then that's going to cause, bad feelings between neighbors. So the city can't have these code enforcement rules that makes people angry, because once you make people angry, they start to make bad decisions. So trust is vital to any community to survive.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 2 minutes.
You know, when I became mayor, that's exactly what the situation I was put into. Number one, we had to clean up the mall. It was in a bad situation. But what we learned from that was how can we become more prepared? And so when I started the Mayor's Caucus, it's over 80 mayors now. It's 10 counties wide. What we've done is put together a preparedness plan. because the city of Jonesboro, not too long ago, 2 years ago, we were expecting a tornado. Unfortunately, the city of Wynn captured that tornado. We were prepared though, all of our departments, all the county, we had pre-met, we already had predetermined locations we were going to meet in case of an emergency. But because of the mayor's caucus, I knew the mayor well, and she called me. She was in tears, she was in shock because her people were dying possibly in Wynn. They couldn't find them there in pitch dark. We took 27 units. City Water and Light helped us out on lighting. We took our SWAT, we took our fire, and you know what the city of Jonesboro did? We were able to go in and step in for them. We helped them on communications. They don't have the capabilities. It's about a regional approach on preparedness. This is a roadmap that we now have because of the mayor's caucus that was created. We're working together not only as the city of Jonesboro, but as a region. But more importantly then, what do we do to rebuild our community? That's the key question. Look at our airport. Look at what we've been able to do. Every time I've gone to Washington, D.C., Senator Bozeman, Senator Cotton, and Congressman Crawford, I have been able to bring back at least monies every time I've gone. And with that, the airport has gotten over $21 million to help rebuild. This is an integral part to Jonesboro. It's a cornerstone and a gateway to the city of Jonesboro. And because of this involvement, we were named Airport of the Year. That doesn't happen by chance, folks. That happens because we were prepared, we worked, and now we're developing a plan for the future of Jonesboro.
Thank you, Mr. Copenhaver. Mr. Bryant, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2020, Mayor Perrin did an incredible job. I mean, to face the tornado and face COVID, Chief Elliott and then Chief Miller, I mean, they did an unbelievable job with the tornado. They were super prepared. I mean, there could have been looting and people stealing stuff from so many residences that were hit, and they had the yellow tag system, and they did an incredible job. And then, of course, all the relationships in 2020 that Mayor Perrin had and the Chiefs had. I mean, emergency responders came far and wide without any coordination. I mean, they just showed up. You know, they showed up at Turtle Creek Mall from here, there, and yonder, and were there to help. And which, I mean, Mr. Elwood hit that point. I mean, that's the key to success, is that all those folks were there for us, and then just like what Mayor Copenhaver did for the mayor of Wynn, it's really, really key because everybody needs different resources at different times. And so emergency preparedness, it's kind of one of those things that's not always like the sexiest issue, like on a day-to-day basis, but I think Tom hit this earlier. I mean, something like an earthquake or something like what just happened in Tampa, this historic hurricane, it's really important that people think big on this. And A-State has obviously thought really big on this. A-State's done work at Black Rock with others, and A-State's done emergency preparedness at the large airport in Walnut Ridge from a staging perspective. And so there's so many partners that have to be involved, but all of these folks have such good brotherhood with one another. I mean, the firemen and the policemen and Adam and emergency management and the county judges and the mayors. And I have confidence that in people's heart of hearts, when push comes to shove, everybody wants to be there for one another and put any differences aside.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think I'm uniquely qualified again for this. I've served on 2 hurricane cleanups. I do chase storms. When the storms come in, I leave, and my wife doesn't like it, but I get in the car and I make sure that people are safe from tornadoes and weather that may be coming our way. The truth of the matter is that we don't have enough shelters in Jonesboro. If there was something dramatic to happen, we do not, there's not a plan in place to shelter a lot of people. If we have a hurricane, that people don't think it's funny anymore, but if we had a hurricane, something that hit out there in Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina, you know, we don't have any place to, or a plan to house anybody like this. So I find it hard, and we keep talking about what we're going to do. And again, it's time to get somebody in there that's going to do it instead of keep talking about it. You know, the greatest thing about Jonesboro, and they all hit on it, is when we had the tornado, man, people came out and they did an amazing job. We have some of the greatest citizens in all of the United States, and they care and they love one another, and they're absolutely right. They came out in droves. I chainsawed quite a few trees myself and cleaned up some debris myself. I was actually the first one on site in Truman, and I was the first one on site out there at the airport. And You know, I pulled people out from underneath houses in Truman. But the fact is that we're talking about what we're going to do. And we got to quit talking about what we're going to do. We have to start doing it. And so instead of saying, hey, I'm going to start doing this, next time in 4 years I'll have a plan.
Mr. Terrell, thank you very much. Mr. Elwood, you have 1 minute to respond.
Well, I don't think we ought to get ready for a hurricane in Jonesboro, because that's not going to happen. We have a history with tornadoes and how to handle that, but we really don't know how to handle an earthquake. And that's what really scares me the most, because we'll be cut off from Little Rock, Memphis, because right away you're going to lose the bridge. And so you're going to get nothing as far as supply comes. Mayor Copenhaver is right about the airports, because the airports will be vital in an earthquake, because if they're landable, we'll be able to bring in supplies from outside. But in an earthquake situation, you cannot really count on the outside, because they're in bad shape too. So there has to be some self-planning, and a lot of people do in their own lives. They stockpile emergency reserves for a week or so at a time. But like even the cities, they have you can't have farm animals. You can't have more than
Elwood,
2 goats.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elwood. We appreciate that. So, Mr. Tabor, once again, this next question of yours will go to the candidates for a 4-minute open forum. Candidates, as a reminder, you each get 1 minute to respond.
Okay. All right, and I believe it was mentioned a little bit earlier about people who are panhandling and people who are unhoused, the homeless. And, you know, if you go out in Jonesboro, you might see a couple of people who are struggling to find a home and struggling to find some kind of shelter. So if you are elected or reelected, what would you do to address panhandling and those that are unhoused?
Well, I think that's 2 different questions, because the panhandlers panhandle on purpose and the unhoused don't. So on the panhandler side, let's tax them. They tax everybody else. You go up there too and say, well, you're a panhandler, so that's here's your receipt for that. Tax them. They're taking money. They're making money. That's a legitimate business opportunity. If you're asking people for money, the government always asks for their share. So if you start taxing them, then you have to give them a license. You get to know who they are, and they won't want to panhandle if they have to pay taxes. Now, the unhoused is an entirely different situation. You have short-term homelessness, and you have long-term. The long-term, we've got a good handle on it because we have programs and we've got a good heart. But the short-term homelessness is a problem because they are free citizens. But if you develop a police force which has a modern building, you'll have the capability.
Mr. Terrell.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Your time
Well, you'd
is up.
have the capability to detain somebody for 24 hours.
Mr. Elwood, your time is
Okay,
up.
I'm sorry. I could talk for hours, I told you. So, I talked to the homeless. We find out why they're homeless. So when I went and talked to some of the homeless and met them at the bus station, they said, I'm homeless because of abuse from a spouse. So we got to house those. We got people that are at our housing right now that are on drugs or have mental health. We haven't addressed any of those things. This has been done in other places throughout the country. If you have a heart for people, you have to address your homeless problem. And so what we do is we go find out why you're homeless. If you're homeless because of drugs, there's places all over the country. If you're homeless because of mental health, we have great resources and to make sure we actually have people in Jonesboro trying to pick up the homeless. They've gone out themselves and found out their mental health issues and are grabbing these people and taking them to their appointments. Now they've got no help, zero help from the city in doing so. So we have to give the people that want to help our homeless, we've got to get them the help, and we've got to meet them where they're at and get them help.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, go.
You know, I think this is an issue that we all struggle with, and I hear about it every day. You know, there's a major difference between the two entities, but I think the main thing is here on the homeless issue is the mental aspect. And we have wonderful entities and nonprofits in our community that we really need to fully support. It's also an engagement process. I'm working on a situation now to where hopefully we'll have a partnership between the county, a large entity downtown, and the city to provide an opportunity for these individuals to have an option. The problem is you can't make an individual go. And so again, it's what can we provide, what services can we provide, and then also when you're talking about those that are on the corners, educate yourself. We have United Way here that you can provide that money to where they can go to nonprofits to assist these people. Those on the corners are usually on state highways, and they're protected by state highways laws,
Mr.
not
Copenhaver,
cities.
thank you very much. Mr. Bryant, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, very quick topics here, a couple quick topics. There's a recent new Supreme Court decision that's certainly going to change how cities and the ability cities have after a case out of Oregon. And so we're kind of waiting for some guidance from the Municipal League. There's a few cities in Arkansas that are kind of already toying with that a little bit, but I think we'll see pretty soon what our options are in regards to some of those things. I'll say two other quick things on this, which is that our poverty rate has increased by 25% in 4 years, and it's unsustainable. And, you know, we've now outpaced where Paragould is with their poverty rate. We've far outpaced what Arkansas's poverty rate is. And last thing I would say, and I won't name the person, but a person we all know, has really worked with kids homeless kids, or kids that often have unreliable beds at night. That should be our first and foremost concern, far more so than panhandlers.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll take a quick break and continue with this debate for the City of Jonesboro Mayoral race. This is Election 2024 coverage live from Arkansas State University here on ASU TV.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted, exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option.
ASU TV, shows like Red Wolf Roundtable, ASU TV News, Westside Football, and more. Gain real-life experience while doing what you love. Get involved with ASU TV today.
And welcome back to this political debate on ASU TV as part of Election 2024 coverage. Our next panelist tonight is Mr. George Jarrett. Jarrett is an award-winning multimedia journalist for Talk Business and Politics, covering Northeast Arkansas and the Delta issues. He also is a writer and former reporter for the Jonesboro Sun. His extensive reporting on Arkansas true crime investigations has led him to write 5 books, and he's the host of the Diamond State Murder Board podcast. Mr. Jarrett, thank you so much for being here tonight. Your question goes to Mr. Harold Copenhaver.
Mayor, politicians on all levels talk about crime, and surprisingly, when voters are polled, it's something that they want them to talk about more and do more about. So in specific terms, what will you do if you're reelected to curb crime in Jonesboro?
Mr. Copenhaver, 2 minutes.
Well, that's very simple because we have addressed this, and you have to work on it every day. And it is top priority, safety and crime. It's an education process to the community. We want to make the community aware of what is available to them as well. Engage our community. You know, I had an individual the other day call me, and unfortunately, they were robbed at gunpoint in their home. And when that occurred, that individual called me, though, a week later. Our police were there quickly. We were able to apprehend because of the camera system that we have installed. But he said, Mayor, what can I do to help the city? Those are the type citizens that promote our city to work together, and crime is an issue that we're seeing across the country. Jonesboro is in the Delta. That's where we are. We are in between Memphis, we're in between St. Louis, and we're in between Little Rock. And so as we see, and as we have seen on our numbers, that 30% of crime in Jonesboro comes from outside our community. So we have to make our community aware that their involvement is #1 key to help us to communicate with them on the services that we can provide, but also what we're doing for them. That's why I've invested millions of dollars, City Council has improved it, in technology, in raises for our officers as well, because morale of our police officers is key, and you don't see that across the state. When I came in office, we were down in numbers. I couldn't ask for more officers' positions until I filled the ones that I had. So we are now back to that, and we have 175 positions. We're only down 5 officers at this point, and we have 10 for interview. Jonesboro's in a good way, and we're progressing in the right direction. It's always going to be a challenge, but with the community's help and involvement and our engagement, get involved in our Citizens Police Academy. That is a wonderful
Mr.
program that
Copenhaver,
we
thank you.
initiated.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Mr. Bryant, you have 2 minutes.
Sure, yeah, I'd say a couple of topics there. We've only added 5 police officers in 4 years, and the mayor added 2 people to his office. It was the first thing he ever asked for before he took office. He added an extra person to communications. He added a social media person to Jets. He added a social media person to parks. Right now, he wanted to give $2 million to his neighbor to buy land. And 5 city council members had a press conference and decried it and wanted us to use property downtown. The chief recently said we have a gang problem amongst young people. The mayor won't recognize and won't face the facts. And again, we've knocked on 9,000 doors, and I hear it from people. And so in the last debate, he referenced a poll that I have no idea, I've never heard of such a poll, that 80 or 90% of people felt safe. I've seen a poll that 71% of people see crime as their top priority. So in many ways, I feel it's a little bit like we're stealing people's watches and telling them what time it is. We have to listen to people. And if people tell us crime is a concern, and we see the statistics that crime is a concern, NEA report laid it out pretty clear on a graph. If you chart population growth and you chart it against per capita crime over the last 10-ish years, it's disproportionate. And we love to make excuses. The fact that 31% of the folks that commit crimes in this town aren't from here, what does that say about what we're doing that we make it so appetizing for them to come here and commit crime? So some folks said in the first debate, maybe they'll say it tonight, say, man, you were kind of hard on your opponents. You can't imagine how hard I'll be on crime and on my 10-point plan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I'm the only one that's talked about, I started talking about this a year ago, guys. I announced that I was going to run for mayor in February and started talking about crime. My opponents here didn't talk about crime while they were city council and the mayor, and they ignored it. But the problem is that it's maybe as bad as we've ever had, and we're not hearing about it. But I went and toured the jail. I'm the only one up here that went and toured the jail recently. It's full. It's 100% full. We cannot put one more person in jail, and the criminals know it. I went to the judge, watched the courtroom, and sat in there for 3.5 hours. There was 119 people on the docket. They do this 5 days a week. We could not hold one of them accountable. We just gave them another fine and another 30 days or another 90 days to straighten up. This is out of control. If they break in your car tonight and steal your wallet, they don't even investigate it. That is policy within our current police department. These guys have not said that it's not. It is. I know it is. I've talked to many in the police department. At some point in time, we've got to realize it and quit hiding this from the people. We do have people coming in from Blyville's and West Memphis's, and they literally walk into our stores regularly, and they will sweep off the counters, and they will walk out, and they'll get in their car, and they'll drive back because they know we can't do anything about it. So if we're not talking about the crime, if we're not doing real numbers, and if we're going to act like our jails aren't full and the criminals don't know it, we're kidding ourselves. And at some point in time, we've got to stop kidding ourselves. And I promise you, from day one, it will be the first thing that I do. We will fix the morale of the police department and give them the correct direction that they need.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Mr. Elwood, you have 2 minutes.
Well, it's interesting to say that I ran 8 years ago when the police walked out on the Mayor Perrin. They parked their cars. That's what me and Harold got into the mayor's race. You can't tell me that we didn't know there was a problem. Now, the major problem was income was pay. They were not compensated for what they were doing for a living, and they were upset, and rightfully so. We have corrected the pay issue. We've even increased the pay issue, which helps. But we lost a whole shift that got a better job with the state police. Now, I can't blame the policemen for getting a better job, but in Jonesboro, we don't have a police station. We have never had a police station. I watch TV and they detain somebody and bring him in there, set him down for 24 hours. Where are they going to detain anybody in Jonesboro for 24 hours? They take them straight to the county jail and they get booked with a ticket, and nobody investigates. Why are you here? Why are you homeless? Why are you on drugs? What's going on with you? Look you in the eye and ask you, what do you need to succeed as a citizen? You can do it through your police department. Now, that doesn't mean we're arresting them. You can detain them for 24 hours. You don't have to charge them. You could just find out what's going on. But until we invest money in a police station, which will suit the community, we took this one over here at Caraway, and it was too small when it was open. Jonesboro is growing, and it's going to continue to grow. As people come in to your community, you know you're going to have more and more problems. And you ask, why do they come here? Well, because here is the growth. Let's say you get a job, your family members, you have 30 family members, cousins and aunts that come live with you, and they're living in Jonesboro. But until we get the facility, we cannot run a modern, effective police system.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 1 minute to respond.
Sure, and I'd love to respond. I think it's very important that you, the people in the audience, need to go to the police stations' numbers, and you look up for yourself. See the real numbers. Since 20 to 23, crimes against individuals are down 12%. Crimes against property are down 24%. And let's talk about numbers. My office had 4 individuals, 4 under Harold Perrin. We have 5. That's 1. I created 2 positions, one of which I never filled. The city of Conway has 7. They're a smaller community than we are. Fayetteville is the same size we are. They have 6. So I think we do an excellent job. You start cutting people in our city government that are wonderful employees, you're going to start cutting services, and I get phone calls, which are very few now, because if we start taking away positions in city government that we are in a growing city, you're taking away services to this community.
Mr. Copenhaver, thank you very much. Mr. Jared, your next question is for all the candidates in a 4-minute open forum. Each candidate will get 1 minute to respond.
So, gentlemen, to gain and maintain a quality of workforce, quality of life is very important. So, in specific terms, if you are elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life metrics in Jonesboro? And please be specific.
Well, I'm going to plant trees. That is quality of life. That's drainage. That's birds. Birds are mosquito control. You have to understand that you have to want to live here. It has to be a pleasant environment, because you got to have sidewalks, you got to have parks. You just have to make it work. And I know through experience, because I've planted trees all my life, that everybody gets happy when they see a tree planted. They'll say, I remember when that one was planted. My granddad planted that tree over there. We have to encourage urban forestry. It's a legitimate subject. It's a legitimate way to make an income life. And that's what I've done for my lifetime. Nobody knew what an arborist was. They, oh, you're the tree guy. And that's all it was. So my focus will be on trees, because it improves the air quality and people get in a better mood. And I know it sounds kind of corny, but that's what I would do.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood.
Well, I'll take this one. So I play disc golf. Played quite a bit, actually. But the only thing that they talk about is bike paths. And I don't think that bikers deserve $20 million worth of bike paths. You know, I don't believe that disc golfers deserve $20 million worth of disc golfs. What I do believe is that we need to spread that around. We absolutely need to meet the needs of everybody. So one of the biggest things that I'll do is I'll help turn Craighead Forest into this amazing oasis. It's close to being there, But we'll make it more. We'll put paddle boats in. We'll put greens in where people can do target shooting with golf. We'll put picnic places where people can come in, throw a blanket down, have a picnic, and we'll continue to grow that. Currently, right now, within the city, in all of our parks department, we can't run efficient parks. We can't run soccer tournaments. We can't run baseball tournaments, not within the city. We have to outsource that
Mr.
kind
Terrell,
of stuff.
your minute is up.
Oh, that's a fast minute.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, a few things, and only in a minute here. I mean, when we talk about quality of life and we talk about trails, we're not just talking about cyclists. I mean, you know, your hardcore cyclists are riding on all kinds of roads. I mean, we're talking about moms pushing strollers, and we're talking about senior citizens. And, you know, in Northeast Arkansas and in the Delta, we've got a 41% obesity rate. So we've got to provide opportunities. I mean, there's an exercise component, and there's an Andy Griffith component to this. People want to be out with one another, and people want to have community, and people need to know their neighbors. I mean, Tom hit this earlier on the disaster preparedness, but it's the same idea. When you know your neighbors and you're using a trail and you see one another, you're a lot less likely to throw your McDonald's cup in your neighbor's yard when you know them. So the quality of life piece, but to be specific, we have to make a lot more progress a lot quicker, and we have to spend money, and we have to fund our comprehensive trail system. It's going to take a comprehensive approach from outside money, from private money, from nonprofit money, from city money, and the demand is there. We see that with the new ride gravel from Jonesboro to Fayetteville.
Well, I'm going to agree in so many aspects with Councilman because, by the way, Tom, we got a grant for 150 trees, okay?
Awesome.
So anyway, we've got 23 to 25 parks in the city of Jonesboro, and when I first began in January of 21, I initiated a thought process for we need a park in eastern Jonesboro. But let me tell you the time frame. It just doesn't happen overnight. It's taken 4 years, and City Council approved 12-0 the finalization of that to move forward. That's a $2.1 million match from the city and a $1 million match from the Department of Interior, their largest grant we've ever received in the state of Arkansas for a park. This will be an 18-acre park, possibly 23-acre, but we need to connect them with their trails and the walkway. Obesity is an issue. Where you see less obesity, you're seeing more pathways and trails.
All right, thank you, Mr. Copenhaver. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have closing statements in tonight's political debate here on ASU TV.
Students should watch ASU TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
And welcome back to ASU TV for tonight's live political debate for the Jonesboro Mayoral race. And it has now come to that point in the broadcast, we're going to go to the closing statements. And our first closing statement tonight comes from Mr. L.J. Bryant.
Sure. I mean, to hit a few points and hit my closing statement, at the very beginning, the mayor talked about going low in this race. I mean, he literally won his first office against an incumbent Republican by going nuclear on them, and he's done the same thing in all of his other races. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. He didn't want to talk about his record. He didn't want to talk about his record as mayor. He didn't want to talk about his record as a liberal Democrat in the legislature voting for abortion and voting against voter ID. So record's fair. Look at my record. I fought wasteful spending. Look at my record. It's fair. There's only two of us that have held, well, three of us have held elected office. Look at our record, super fair. So I'll say we've talked a lot tonight about opportunities in Jonesboro. There's nothing wrong with Jonesboro that can't be fixed with what's right about Jonesboro. We've got great people. We're so lucky to have a D1 school. I mean, the state of Missouri has one D1 school. We have opportunities all around us of things that are going on in Mississippi County with the steel industry. But we face challenges, which we've hit a lot today too. But elections are always about the future. It's not about us. All of us, we've figured out life. We're going to be just fine. And when I announced on July 24th, I said I was only going to serve one term. The governor of Virginia, state of 9 million people, they can't seek re-election. The reason things typically don't happen in politics, no matter who holds the office, is politics. Indecision is the easiest way to kick the can down the road in politics because you don't want to make anybody mad because you have to get elected. In Virginia, the voters said, hey, I'll tell you how we'll get 12 years worth of work done in 4 years. We'll make it to where the governor can't run again. So I'll serve one term. I'll focus on my 10-point plan. But again, election's about the future. So think about 4 years from now. The most dangerous place to be 1 year from now is where we are today. I always think about that in my business and in my personal life. So where do you want Jonesboro to be? Do you feel better off than you were 4 years ago? I know for all of us, we just want a safe place to raise our family, and we want a clean, safe, and fun community. Hire me, I'll deliver that with my 10-point plan.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. We appreciate that. Mr. Terrell, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a longtime Jonesboro resident. I don't plan on going anywhere. Matter of fact, I want to make sure that in 10 years and 15 years, when my kids have grandkids, this is the place that they come to for Christmas and for just catching up. And currently right now, we're losing that. We're going in the wrong direction. We sit up here and we talk a lot about what we're going to do. And the fact is that we've had two on this panel that have been here for 4 and 7 years, and we're still talking about what we're going to do. The fact is that they should have been doing things a long time ago. I served on the school board. We did a lot of things when I was on the school board. I fought for the kids no matter what was going on and no matter what kind of punches I took. As your mayor, I'm going to do the same for you. I'm 100% going to work for you, and I don't care what the punches are. We're not going to allow things that are going on today where we ignore all of the people of Jonesboro. I'm going to divide Jonesboro up into 5 locations, northeast, south, and west, and central. We're going to give each area of Jonesboro the same amount of attention. We've been ignoring many, many areas of Jonesboro. We focus ourselves on downtown, we focus ourselves on sidewalks, and we focus ourselves on bike paths, which, all of that's great. We want some of that stuff, but we ignore the vast majority of Jonesboro. And as your mayor, I will quit ignoring you, and we will work for you. Speaking about safety, we've lost 20 veteran last year, veteran police. We've lost more this year. I promise you that we will fix the police department. We will make sure that they love being a police officer. We'll also fix what's going on within our city. We will make sure that we have competent people within our city so that we can serve you. That is what we are supposed to do, and that is what we are paid to do, is to serve the people of Jonesboro. We'll no longer skirt around you. We'll no longer abuse you. We will take care of you, and we will act like you are our boss for the first time in a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Mr. Elwood, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, in my opening statement, I told you my life story, and I told you about my experience with St. Jude. And it was my first experience with money. Money will not save you. Money will not make a difference. St. Jude's a world-class facility. That's where my brother lived. If we had more money, we would have went somewhere else. No, when you went to St. Jude, because St. Jude was built out of purity. It just was. So I know that it doesn't matter who the governor is, who's the president, who's the captain of the football team. It doesn't matter. It matters what you and your individual heart do. Because money, we can talk about, well, we got to have money. Well, that's true, but money changes people. It changes the discussion. In this race right here, candidates raise $150,000 apiece to run for a $100,000 job. Now, I am self-funded completely. And there's not a whole bunch of people helping me. There's a few good friends of mine that are encouraging me. I like the encouragement and the prayers, and I've got a lot of that. But we have to quit making politics a show. I mean, who's the best looking? Well, I'm not going to win that. I know that. But I got involved in politics because Jonesboro was in trouble, and I got to share some of my ideals. Now, I talked about increased police pay, and it happened. So I haven't wasted my time being involved in the campaign, because you can support candidates, you can give money to candidates, but unless you're willing to actually take the hits and go out there and campaign, to have your integrity questioned, to have why are you running for office, who's backing him, has he got a secret backer, is he trying to take over Jonesboro, who's behind Elwood, what's his deal? I want to make a difference. I feel like I have made a difference, and I want to continue to make a difference in Jonesboro because this is my home.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Mr. Copenhaver, you have 2 minutes.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity here at Arkansas State University. You're my home. I've been dedicated to this university. We were Red Wolf Family of the Year. It's about commitment. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. You know, I heard tonight several times about competent people working in the city. Well, I take offense to that because my employees are very competent. They do a tremendous job. And unless you know them, and I feel like sometimes you're putting your salt on your steak before you taste your steak. They're good people. They serve us well. We've done a good job, and God has put good people in my way to make those decisions. I'm very blessed to be endorsed by some of those individuals, and they're the firefighters of Jonesboro, Arkansas. The top-notch, best in the state of Arkansas. They see what I have done for our community, and more importantly, I've got their back. I've also received an accolade that I didn't know was coming my way, and that was Mayor of the Year Award by the Arkansas State Police Chiefs Association. But what that means to me is that means our officers and our crime, everybody in the state of Arkansas is taking notice of what we're doing in Jonesboro. Little Rock, North Little Rock, Fayetteville, Conway, Springdale, they've all come to Jonesboro to see what we're doing. We're doing it right, folks. We got Trendsetter of the Year awards. I will not sell my integrity for a small group of people. I represent all the people of Jonesboro. My name is Harold Copenhaver. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a proud Christian, and I'm your mayor. And I'll continue to work every day 100% for this community.
Thank you to all of our candidates for being here tonight. We appreciate all of you for being here for this debate. Now, you can watch these debates on demand on the ASU TV YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel where you'll get notified about live ASU TV programming. Again, thanks to our candidates, also our panelists, the audience here in the ASU TV studio, and you watching at home. Also, thanks to the ASU TV production crew working behind the scenes to put this debate on the air. They've done a fantastic job the past several weeks as we've been airing these debates. Also, thanks to KASU, KLEK, The Herald, Delta Digital News, and Red Wolf Radio. Now, stay tuned for ASU TV's season premiere of Walled. That's coming up next. And just a reminder, early voting starts Monday, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you for joining us, and good night.